Hi friends! How's everybody doing on Instagram? I hope you're having a fabulous evening. Thank you so much for taking a moment to tune in here, whether you are live or on the replay. My name is Laura Mazzata, and I am an Akashic healer and teacher. I've also been a therapist in New York for almost 20 years. And I recently transitioned away from traditional therapy entirely to Akashic healing. I had been doing both businesses for a couple of years, and I am now really here my mission is to assist people with prevention. Okay, so prevention of emotional or physical illness or dis-ease or discomfort that arises. I was initially drawn to the spiritual path after I had sepsis. And I was knocked down pretty hard and had some damage to my neurological system and quite the recovery journey since then. So I have now gotten to the point where I'd like to scream it from the rooftops to be able to share healing, deep healing, preventive healing, the Akashic records with as many people as will listen, because it has been a completely transformative space for me. It has been a completely transformative space for my clients and for my loved ones. And I've found that with all of the strategies and education that I have undergone over over my adult life, and my own experience with my own healing physically and emotionally, I can truly say with 100% confidence that the Akashic records are the most efficient and effective route to healing the core of whatever is presenting in your field. So I am very passionate about educating people about how they can not only use this space, but to also tune into themselves in ways that will assist them with preventing any kind of emotional symptoms from turning into chronic symptoms, and with assisting people with physical symptoms to understand how are these things that are coming forward in my field communicators? How are they actually helping me move forward and transform and become the best person that I can be? Okay, so that's what I wanted to talk a little bit about to you guys tonight, and to share just a couple strategies here to assist you with starting to tune into this level of your being. So one example that I'll bring up for you is after I had sepsis, one of the things that I left that with was autonomic neuropathy. And it was damage to my neurological system and my autonomic nerves, which control digestion and breathing and heart rate and all sorts of things. Dizziness was one of my symptoms for 2.5 years, probably even longer than that. So balance and stability, a lot of those experiences that are going on behind the scenes, right? Those automatic processes that keep us going, that we don't necessarily notice, that we don't necessarily appreciate. And so it got to the point where I couldn't walk for a number of months, and I certainly couldn't drive for a couple of years since I was dizzy for so long. And so for me, it's being able to say, all right, how do I stay preventive about this sort of thing, even after I have contracted the illness or the discomfort, whatever it is you happen to be experiencing? Okay. So one of the ways that I've done this is to get really, really in tune with my energy field, to understand and know myself so deeply, all the way down to the molecular level, and even smaller than that, down to the energetic level. Because when we understand ourselves at this tiny little nuanced level, we can catch any little tweaks that happen to be needed so that we can continue to heal and move forward. Okay? So my example here is that with the neuropathy, one of the symptoms that comes forward is leg pain. Okay? So I would not be able to stand for very long periods of time, like maybe a few minutes. And then my legs would start to throb and I would have to sit down. So what I started to do was I started to notice, okay, what happens before my legs feel painful? My left heel would start to hurt. So I was like, interesting. Okay. So when my left heel would start to hurt, I would sit down, because that would stay ahead of the leg pain becoming really bad. And I knew that it was a precursor to really bad leg pain. So once I got that part down, I started noticing that when I was playing games with my kids, I would start to think, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, ugh, I'm so done. And it would come on fast. Like, it wasn't like, all right, I'm starting to get bored, or like, maybe we should do something else or something like that, right? Like, I would just automatically get this thought and this feeling wash over me that I was like, ugh, I don't want to do this anymore. And then I would feel bad about myself because I'd be like, of course I want to play with my kids. Like, why don't I want to play with my kids? And so I started questioning it and analyzing it. And then I started realizing that right after I would have that feeling wash over me and that thought come forward, my left heel would start to hurt. So I was like, oh, intriguing. So this is my emotional field, which is actually a step further from our physical body, right? When we're talking about the aura, we have different layers. So there's our physical body, then we have our emotional body, and after that is the mental body, okay? So I was like, oh, interesting. So when that emotion comes up for me, that wave of emotion, that's actually a signal that comes before my heel hurting. So once I started realizing that, then I started sitting down when I got that emotion. And then I would prevent the heel hurting. I would prevent the legs hurting. So do you see how this happens, or how this works to be able to be preventive? So the field that's further out than the emotional field is the mental field. So as this energy is coming towards us from the universe, it goes through so many different layers. So when we get to attend to it in the mental field, which is our belief systems, our thoughts, our mindset, all of those things, and we start to shift those, then it prevents the emotion from coming forward, which then prevents the physical feeling from coming forward, okay? Because we're all energy, right? We are made of energy. Every object around us is made of energy, and we are all made of the same building blocks. They just happen to be arranged in different patterns based on the object that we're looking at, based on the person that we're engaging with, okay? Hi, Joy, and hi, Mary Rose. I hope you guys are fabulous. So that's one way, is to really listen to and get curious about. Curiosity is the number one thing I would have you guys take away. Get curious about what's coming up in your field. So if it's coming up, instead of saying like, ugh, oh, my legs hurt. Oh, that's irritating. I'm so sick of this, right? I get curious about that symptom. What is this trying to tell me? What is it about, like, what is the symbolism that's coming forward? I want you to view your body and your emotions as symbols, not literally. Because when we view them literally, then we start to go down this whole freaking rabbit hole of, oh my gosh, what does this mean? And why do I feel this way? And let me find out where this came from so that I can fix it, right? Instead, you get curious and you say, what is this telling me? Like, you're giving the symptom a voice. You're giving it an opportunity to communicate what's going on, okay? And you're actually listening. Like, you're actually receiving this information, okay? Rather than just doing it to check it off your list. So when we look at the symbolism of our legs, what do our legs do? They walk us forward. They allow us to move from place to place. So you think about, what is the function of any other area of your body or your emotional field that's coming forward? So what do legs do? They move you forward. They move from place to place. So then I ask myself, I get curious and I say, okay, so what areas of my life am I feeling hesitant or resistant or nervous about moving forward? What are the areas of my life where I am having trouble transitioning, like moving from place to place? And these are beautiful prompts for you to explore, either in meditation, in your journal, in the Akashic records. I'm always going to recommend the Akashic records because I find it to be the most transformative space. And that brings long-lasting change. Like, it's not just temporary. It's not a Band-Aid effect, okay? I've been a therapist for almost 20 years. And I can tell you that although I do feel there's a place for therapy, I do think it's only one layer, and I think it's fairly surface layer, okay? So I'm much more supportive of people being able to tune into their own intuition, their own guidance, their own higher self, their own divine wisdom, okay, that exists within us. Hi, Sarah. Thanks for being here. Okay. So that's one, is really getting curious, listening to your body and your emotions as cues, understanding how they operate symbolically, not literally. Okay. And I'll give you a quick example here too, in addition to the body example I just gave you. that let's say I was playing with my dog out on the front yard. And those of you who have worked with me before know that I use this example all the time. But let's say I was playing with my dog in the front yard. And then I go into the Akashic records and they show me this image of me playing with my dog in the front yard. Well, if I take that literally, I'm just going to be like, all right, whatever. Like, thanks for showing me this. I know exactly how this unfolds because I'm taking it literally. And I'm saying like, all right, I did this already. I know how this goes. But if you look at this symbolically, you're able to say, all right, let me get curious and see how the Akashic records are going to allow this scene to unfold for me. Because I guarantee you what you're going to find is wisdom at the end. And they were using that cue and that symbol as an opportunity to get your attention so that you pay attention, so you focus, so you allow yourself to learn more about this experience, the wisdom that can be extracted from this experience. Okay? Does that make sense? So start trying to shift your mindset from seeing the things that arise in your world as from a literal standpoint and shift them to a symbolic standpoint. Okay? The creator, divine source, is creative. Okay? It's creative. And so everything that we experience on this planet is a creation of source, is a creation from ourselves, an extension of source, part of source. So it's also asking the question, what is the reason that this is being created in my current reality, in my current experience? Because I guarantee you there's a reason for it. If you have something present in your life, whether it's a relationship, whether it's an emotional experience, a physical experience, something going on at work, you are a part of its creation. And if it's something that's tense, something that you don't love super much, what I want you to do is instead of dismissing it and saying, oh, let me shut that down, let me avoid it, let me shut it off, I want you to realize that it's coming forward into your experience and it's staying there because you still have lessons to extract from this. Okay? So it's not like you're being punished by the universe. It's not like, you've been dealt a rough hand. Okay? None of those thoughts, none of those belief systems are going to support your healing. Instead, it's you being able to say, I am taking responsibility for absolutely everything that occurs in my field, because when I do that, I've empowered myself, right? We're not doing it to blame. We're not taking that responsibility to blame ourselves, but we're saying, now I get to do something with this. I get to transform this into whatever I want. I get to do with this whatever I choose. Okay, you're no longer trapped in victim mode. You're no longer trapped in victim mentality, thinking that things just happen to you. Oh, these relationships just keep showing up in my life. Okay, well, there's a reason for that. Because there are lessons and there is wisdom there to extract for you to be able to know yourself more deeply and intimately. And I can say that sepsis is the best thing that ever happened to me. Truly the best thing that ever happened to me, because it gives me an opportunity to be able to know myself at a level of intimacy that I never would have chosen or even known existed, to be honest with you. Even known that existed. Okay? The deepest level of healing that you can access is past life work. So I don't know how many of you have done that. You can certainly let me know in the comments, either here live or on the replay, whether or not past life work is something that you have dabbled in. I always recommend to my clients that when we do past life work, take a good couple months before you're going to work in past lives again. Because it's so deep that you can literally feel the shifts happening at a molecular level. And sometimes you don't see it on the surface or in your conscious life for a little bit of time, because it can take some time to kind of develop. Okay? Hi, Sherry. This thing keeps getting mad at me and like booting me. So anyway, not sure why it keeps getting mad at me. But anyway, so that's the deepest level of healing, is past life work. Because especially if we have chronic conditions, chronic health conditions, chronic emotional issues, chronic belief systems that we've tried to work with over and over and over again, but then they just continue to return and we get frustrated and feel like we're hitting our heads against a wall. They have deeper roots, typically in ancestry, either in ancestral healing or past life work. But past life work is the deepest form of healing that you can do. And so when you get an understanding of the context from where you came, whether it's ancestral or whether it's past life related, then it can not only make sense on a conscious level, but you can send healing and energy to those deeper forms or versions of yourself. Okay. And when you do that, you are clearing and healing as an act of service, not just for yourself, but for generations before you and generations after you, for your soul lineage. Okay, because there are souls that we have interacted with that some of these souls may have never incarnated on this planet. We may have just engaged with them in a different star system or in the universe in another way, okay? But it's starting to open our awareness to understand these connections and realize how they have shaped us and realize what we can learn from them. Seriously, because we've ended up in this place where we feel stuck, where we feel like I can't move forward, where we feel like I don't know how to get from point A to point B. But guess what? That wisdom is out there. That answer is always out there and it lies within you. And you have the ability to access these answers and guidance for moving forward. My favorite way to do it is through the Akashic records. I find that to be the most effective and the most efficient, like I said at the beginning of this live. There's also a YouTube video that you can find in the link in my bio that teaches you how to open your Akashic records, how to access this space, how to start bringing through messages, what this space even is, what it means. Okay? But at a very basic level, it's important to identify that we are always energy. So, energy in motion is emotion, emotion. Energy and motion, which means that if we see our emotions as energy that's moving through us, we know that it's going to pass. We know that it's temporary. The average person goes through 21 mood changes a day. So we know that that's part of our human experience. And we appreciate and allow this energy to move through us in the waves that it's meant to. When we look at our physical bodies as energy, we realize that it's always moving. It's always shifting. It's always transforming. You are never the same person today as you were yesterday. Okay? So what does that give us? That gives us power. That gives us faith. That gives us confidence, knowing that we can shift our physical presentation and experience at any time. We have the ability to shift our physical experience because it's all energy. So we can just move it into a different direction or a different pattern. Now, we can't change the actual structure of our DNA, but we can change how it's expressed. Because when you think about it, think about your DNA. It has a consciousness. Everything that's energy has a consciousness, okay? And it's hanging out there in your physical body. So if you have this DNA hanging out in your physical body, and it's surrounded by this nice, cushy, nourishing, loving, nurturing environment, it's going to flourish. If it's in a toxic environment, it's going to wear down more easily. It's not going to be as nourished. It's not going to feel as strong. It's not going to feel as safe or rooted or comfortable, right? So that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about symbolism. We start to think about, all right, so with this DNA, let's give it attention as having its own consciousness. Let's give it attention as a being its own being, right? Would you want to sit in a toxic environment for years on end? No, you would not. So how do we enrich that environment? Okay. One of the ways we enrich that environment is through managing our energy field, heightening our vibration. Okay. So we can do that through sound. We can do that through chanting. I just was chanting on Clubhouse this morning. It was freaking kick-ass. If you guys ever want to join me on Clubhouse for chanting, do it, please. I kind of do it impromptu. I kind of jump on when the records ask me to jump on. And I absolutely love immersing myself in that. That raises my vibration like that. Just being in the space of the Akashic Records raises your vibration. Meditation can. Singing. Listening to high vibration podcasts or shows. Moving your physical body in ways that feels really, really good and expansive and exciting. Opening up space, right? And so we can also do this with foods, with what we're putting into our physical bodies. Okay? So when we put things into our physical bodies that have a high vibration, everything from Mother Earth is coming from a high vibrational space. Okay? So everything that we put in our bodies that's high vibration is also going to create a nourishing and nurturing environment for our DNA. For this consciousness that resides within us, which impacts our consciousness. So it's being able to be a believer and have faith in these microscopic, smaller than microscopic elements that exist within us that are impacting our human lived experience. Okay, does this make sense? So this is the way that we start working on this path to our deepest levels of physical and emotional healing. You think about trauma when we're looking at the emotional piece, right? Trauma is encoded in our physical bodies in the form of memories, but also in the form of emotions and energy. Okay, so we actually have an energetic code that gets programmed into our physical bodies, our energy field, when we experience a trauma. So when we are doing trauma work, we're going back and we are separating the memory itself from the emotion that's tied to it, because they get encoded together. They get merged together. They're like enmeshed. They almost have this like codependent relationship, right? And so what you get to do is say, I'm not going to forget what happened. I choose to retain the memory, but I no longer want the emotional charge to be associated with it. And so we get to go in and separate these two, where then what is the memory? The memory is just a story, right? The memory is just a story. And I'm sure you've read many stories in your life. Have you remembered all of them? No, guaranteed you haven't. Have you had emotional responses to every single story that you've ever had in your life? No, probably not. So that means that you have the ability, the capacity, and a framework of success around being able to hold a story in your memory without having a significant emotional charge to it. So what does that do? That highlights your power. That highlights your ability to manage whatever is coming forward in your field, whether it's emotional, whether it's physical, etc. Okay? So we have the ability to extract the story, but disconnect the energetic cords that are associated with this that still have us somehow tied to this, because a lot of times, especially when it comes to trauma, our primitive brain kicks in, right? And we go into safety protective mode, fight or flight, okay? And when we get into that mode, it's very protective, obviously, but it gets encoded as danger, danger, danger. And then we hold that memory along with the danger signal, along with the negative emotion. And going forward, it feels like we need to protect ourselves. It feels like we're not safe. It feels like we're on the edge of our seats, like that hypervigilance that comes with PTSD, right? We're always looking over our shoulder like, what's going to happen next? When's the other shoe going to drop, right? That's a PTSD response, okay? Anytime we're waiting for that other shoe to drop, it's a PTSD response. So it's important for you to say, I am prioritizing and setting an intention to rewire this traumatic response so that, yes, I can keep the memory, but I will no longer be held back. I can establish safety for myself, physically and emotionally, knowing that that event is no longer occurring, knowing that I do not have to carry this memory along with the emotional charge that goes with it, okay? Because that memory has its own energetic blueprint. Give it an opportunity to change the story. It doesn't want to get stuck and trapped. So let me know if there's any questions that are coming forward. Let me know if there's any thoughts coming forward, or there's any areas for you that you feel physically or emotionally, you're feeling stuck, or you're feeling like, I haven't been able to move out of this, right? Because I guarantee you that's something to explore at a deeper level, either through your ancestry, into past lives, or just tuning really keenly into your energy and getting curious and almost like a detective. Interesting. Okay, so what happened next? Interesting. So when this happens, this is how I respond, right? Like getting really curious about painting a picture for yourself of, this is the event, what happened before that, what happened before that, what happened before that. So you can start to understand your energy and you can predict what's coming next. Okay. So Joy says, song in my head upon waking this morning was, where have all the flowers gone? Meditation and journaling revealed what it means to me, allowing me to get clarity on some healing needed. Oh, that's so beautiful, especially after our course yesterday and some really deep prompts really coming up for you to explore. I'm so proud of you and like so impressed that you were able to say, listen, I am shifting this right now. Like I'm getting curious about it. I'm turning towards it. And that is how we prevent things from building in our field. And that doesn't mean that you have to analyze. And first of all, I don't want you to analyze because that's from the ego mind, but that you have to look into and understand the meaning behind everything that comes up in your mind and your energy field, because you will literally make yourself crazy. Like you're going to be so exhausted. That's just too much. Okay. But it's especially those things that come up in patterns, especially those things that come up like in threes, or that you feel like you've worked on and then it just keeps coming back and nipping you in the bud. Okay. Those are the things that you really want to get curious about and dive deeply into. And what you'll notice is that over time, as you become consistent with this practice, you're going to realize that you're catching things earlier and earlier, just like Joy was talking about, where it's actually can be a really quick thing. So for me, the things that I used to sit down and journal about or heal forever, or, call my coach and be like, all right, let's go through a healing and I need some downloads and all of this to clear, now has become something that's just second nature to me. Like it's just automatic. So when something comes into my mind, I'm like, oh, that's curious. And then I look into it and I get an answer right away from the Akash because I'm so well versed in that space now. And that can take some time. But then I don't even have to worry about things building up or becoming chronic or annoying me all the time, because it's such an instantaneous thing. It's become part of my natural way of being, which honestly, I can say I never thought I would get to this place, because I used to be very, very obsessive, right? And I would just be like, have the same thoughts coming into my mind over and over and over and over and over again. And it would frustrate me. And honestly, it was very defeating, because it got me to the point where I was just like, oh my gosh, like, when is this going to go away? And honestly, I felt like a victim at the time. I felt like, geez, I'm a victim of this. It's like in my life, like, how am I going to heal from this? Oh, poor me that I had to deal with this all the time. That doesn't empower me. That makes me feel disempowered. It makes me feel like I don't know where to go or what to do, where really there is a solution within every single thing that comes up for us. There is a solution out there. It's a matter of finding it, but knowing very, very confidently that the solution exists, and that the solution exists within you. And 99.9999% of the time, in fact, I would argue 100% of the time, the solution exists within the symptom. So when the symptom is coming up, it's your opportunity to either look at it as a symbol and understand its meaning, find the lesson that clearly exists within it, or it wouldn't be coming up for you. And tuning into your physical body, because a lot of times people say, oh, I'm not getting anything. Like I don't have any information coming forward when I'm trying to understand the symbolism behind this. And I'm just not getting it. Right? First of all, we don't always have to know consciously. Okay. We don't always have to know consciously. We want to know consciously what the answers are going to be. But when we work with energy and when we work at things at that molecular, microscopic, tinier than microscopic level, we don't always know the answer right away. But what we do know confidently is that the work is happening. What we do know confidently is that we are shifting and changing, that we are transforming, and that our intention is in a space to be able to leave behind this chronic pattern that we don't want anymore. And part of that is stepping into your own like boss pants for yourself and saying, I choose not to do this anymore. Like I am done. I am deciding that I am done. I am no longer going to obsess about things. I am no longer going to experience this symptom. And you're not doing it in a resistant way, in an angry way, in a way that feels like I'm pissed off at it. And so I'm just going to will myself through it. That's a cognitive process, okay? It's really you being able to feel into the vibes of, I know very confidently that I can move through this. I know very confidently that I can heal this. I had a chronic virus in my system for 17 years, 18 years, I think 18 years. Entirely healed and gone through energy healing. Gone. And that for me was like, oh, this shit really works. That was kind of when I was in my space where I was like, okay. And that was when I was first healing, right? And I was like dipping my toe into energy healing and dipping my toe into spiritual work and being like, okay, I know I keep getting called to this. And so I'm curious to explore it, right? But I wasn't a full believer quite yet. I'll tell you, the results speak for themselves when you start to make a commitment to setting the intention for what you want to shift and being curious and thinking outside of the box in terms of what is the reason that this is showing up in my life right now. Okay. And being open to the fact that it's not just something that exists in your physical body and, oh, well, this just came up because. Not the case. Not the case. So let me know if you guys have any questions coming forward. I am going to post this as an IGTV live so that you have an opportunity to rewatch it if you weren't able to watch it from the beginning, or you want to extract other wisdom or remember some of these practices to be able to apply going forward. But what I would tell you really clearly here is, yes, there are many layers to this, especially if you have chronic illness, chronic physical illness, chronic mental illness, anything chronic that's coming up. Lindsay, hi, honey. I love you. Thank you for being here. Just anytime chronic patterns, it can be even chronic doubt, or like chronic fixation on something. But anytime those come up, they come up, or they're staying around, I should say, because there's many, many layers to them to heal. So allow yourself to start diving in. There is a reason why we don't want to heal chronic issues like that. Okay. Because when we do that, we're going to break the human. It's just like too much shifting in one go. Okay. If you're on this live, if you watch this at any point on the replay, you are empathic. You're somebody who's sensitive. You're somebody who is going to feel into other people's energies. Okay. And the world's energies and your own energy. And you're going to feel those fluctuations very palpably. And so it's important for you to realize that too much shifting at once is going to make you feel super off kilter. Okay. It's going to make you feel super off kilter. So be patient. Allow this to be a process. Okay. And that when you start doing this work, you clear one layer, allow that to integrate. That's what I had trouble with at the beginning, was integrating, like taking time to integrate. Cause I was like, oh, all the things, I want to heal all the things, and I want to heal them now, because not only am I impatient and I want to learn and I want to fix it right now, but it's also just fascinating. Like once you start to see the results, and you start to feel these shifts for yourself, you're like, oh, I want more, I want more, I want more, right? And so it's part of the process to kind of get some of that wisdom, integrate it, allow it to take its time to settle into your system and to shift your form a little bit. Then go to your next layer. Okay. And this is what I help people with in terms of like guiding them through these different layers in the space of the Akashic Records, because the Akashic Records is never going to give you anything that you're not ready to integrate. And the Akashic Records is going to give you those doses that aren't going to break the human, really. It's going to be the most gentle and compassionate approach. And it's going to be in the best alignment with your soul's path and your soul's journey. So you don't have to worry about, is this going to knock me off? Is this going to take me in a direction I don't want to go? Is this going to be a commitment that I'm not ready for? All of those answers are completely irrelevant in the space of the records, because it's all in alignment with and guided toward your unique soul blueprint. Okay? So thank you guys so much for joining me. Thank you for watching live or on the replay. Say hello if you guys are watching on a replay. Just type in #replay. Right now, there are 3 spots available for the Akashic Record Certification Program. I actually just certified somebody the other day. I get so excited. It's such a celebratory time because this is an opportunity for more people to share this healing with the world and be of service and learn even more about this infinite space of the records that we are still learning about, and we're always going to be learning about because it's an infinite space. And so how the records interact with different people's energy is so cool to learn, because that's how we learn more and more about how to use this space and what we have access to. So it's really exciting. So let me know if you guys want more information on the Akashic Record Certification Program. I would love to have you. I have certified so many people at this point. I don't even know the number. I have to look and count. But it's a beautiful Akashic family that we've created. The community is lovely and supportive and wonderful. And I'm just very proud. I'm very proud of what we've created. And I'm very proud of this journey that we have. Anybody who elects to choose this, I honor you very, very deeply, because this is the work that changes lives and changes the world and changes the collective. So thank you for being here. I will see you so soon. Have a beautiful night. Bye.